So the notion's pretty simple. IT hardware is a commodity, and finally it can trade like one. So essentially MarkITx is building the New York Stock Exchange of IT, probably more appropriate, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange of IT. We're the central clearing firm that allows a big bank, an exchange, or really any enterprise the ability of trading in and out of their physical infrastructure, from networking, server, storage, or SAN, anything inside the data center environment, and connect them with other global entities that want to acquire it. We've been at it for 2 years. I actually started a firm at the young age, which was a long time ago, at 22, used to buy and sell technology, assets, take an arbitrage position on it, and then resell it out to the market.
Right.
My partner came from a different world of high-frequency trading. He was developer number one at a big high-frequency trading firm in Chicago, and essentially we put the two worlds together and said, how do we really sort of change and transform an industry and use data to essentially drive liquidity? And that's really what we got together. Chicago Mercantile Exchange. They're on their 30th trade right now in less than 2 years. So essentially what they do is they come to MarkITx, to the exchange. It's free to sign up. They can just as simply drag and drop a file, an Excel file or any sort of file, and we automatically return to them what the fair market value is, all of that infrastructure. They automatically just hit that to the exchange, and what happens is there's a captive audience of aggregated buyers. We've got 4,000 members today. About 70% of those buyers today are enterprise, and about 30% there's a pretty robust broker market within this marketplace. And so once it's a bid-ask spread, let's just say the equipment's worth $1 million. Once that bid is hit, we take the money and hold it in escrow like a normal clearing firm from the buy side. It rolls through a third party, usually a Celestica or an Avnet, that take the product from use for certification and back out. And we, as the central clearing firm, guarantee all aspects of the trade: buyer, seller, and intermediary on one central platform. It's a couple different things, right? There's a massive amount of change that I think is happening at the software layer, right? I mean, I think that's really where the level of innovation is happening. Yeah. It's not necessarily about the hardware, right? And so it's becoming more and more commoditized, right? You see all the things that are happening on virtualization and VMware. You see all the things that are happening on SDN, et cetera. It's just further commoditizing the box, right? And then look at the open compute side and what Google and Twitter and Facebook are doing. Absolutely. So if every sort of enterprise starts to sort of adopt to what's ever best for them and how they want to host their application, there's going to be a massive sea change of equipment that's flowing out into the market and possibly moving that over to international markets, et cetera, where there's a lot of massive change. What we're really trying to do is line up industries that have a massive amount of supply, like let's say financial services, and maybe cloud providers are the buyers, or the aggregated buyers, because only 8% of the enterprise market is running in the cloud, right? So as AWS continues to erode the price down to zero, essentially they're going to be able to buy that equipment, maybe a year old, for a third of the cost, right? Get into much lower. Here's where the market's really moving. This is what's really got us excited. We've collected in 2 years $57 billion worth of purchase history on the IT stack, on the primary market. What that means is the top 5 banks have given us their data via an API. And in exchange for that, we give them data around what the market value is. So long term, as we drive liquidity to the market, what we want to do is essentially offer a futures contract or a derivative contract around when the optimal time is to refresh, what they can refresh for on a guaranteed basis, and then allow them to be interchangeable as massive amounts of innovation happens at the software.
There's only one slight problem with that.
Yes.
What happens to the derivatives market in 2008 happens again? Or
it's a good question. I mean, the market maker is going to essentially take care of that, right? And there's going to be priced in risk, right, around where that market's going to move. The reality, though, is today there's a mark to market. There's a value that most of the enterprises aren't capturing, right? And so if you give that level of return on invested capital back to them to let them innovate and do great things like open compute, right, and buy from great, brand new manufacturers out there, you give them the ability of driving a much more efficient market. So I don't know what's going to happen with the derivative side. To answer the question directly, I think it sort of remains to be seen, but it'll be priced in risk. Yeah, I think you can see the broader sense of the community of what Open Compute is really about is trying to help really everyone figure out what's best for them on the application side. There's a lot of brain power and a lot of thought around what's going to be best for Facebook or what's going to be best for Rackspace and how is that going to be related to other firms like Goldman or like B of A. So I think from our perspective, what we really appreciate is the openness, right? Because that's where the innovation is going to happen. And so I think being a part of that open community, right, being a part of being able to change that is really what we're excited about. I think there's a missing piece that they're not thinking about. I think everyone's looking so far ahead around where they want to go, whether that's software innovation or whether that's hardware innovation with great manufacturers like Hive or whatever the case may be with Quanta and all of that side. But there's still a balance sheet implication that there's billions of dollars of invested capital that's going to prohibit them from moving forward. So I think you have to combine both of them to really unlock the capital that's there to allow for the level of innovation so the great minds can continue to expand.